I'm going to describe 10 major happiness handicaps. It's unlikely you're afflicted with them all, certainly not with equal intensity, but it is a virtual certainty that you are afflicted with some. Now, let us remember that these are all self-inflicted wounds. No one makes you a victim without your consent. You have the power to identify which of these handicaps you are lugging around and to choose to leave it behind. Happiness handicap number 1, grudges. You have been wronged, cheated, abused. Someone has taken advantage of you. Dwelling on this sets up a barrier between you and happiness. The more you dwell on it, the bigger, thicker, and stronger the barrier becomes. Consider the divorced person who constantly complains about the ex-spouse to every new friend of the opposite sex. He might as well hang a sign around his neck that says, "Warning, I am not capable of happiness." You will have to smash that wall to smithereens with the strongest of all hammers, forgiveness. Then you must put the remains of the wall behind you and never look back. That is old business, best left to the history books, covered with dust, unread, locked away in the basement or attic. The quest for happiness begins and ends in the present moment. Happiness handicap number 2, envy. The salesman who envies a peer's better relationship with the boss, better leads, better territory, or better car, or better whatever, will be unhappy every day of his working life. It is interesting to note how often people are envious of each other and don't know it. The married person envies the bachelor in his freedom and presumably more exciting, daring life. The bachelor envies the married person his committed relationship, his stable home life. Our eyesight is flawed. Everywhere we look into the distance, we see greener pastures. But when we get close, we are shocked to see that what looked like a lush green pasture is no better and sometimes worse than the plot of ground we were standing on and unhappy with. Envy focuses the servo mechanism on lack rather than on abundance. So it busies itself creating more lack. Envy is paralyzing rather than motivating. If you must take serious note of what others may have that you do not, do so with admiration and respect, with healthy curiosity about what they know or do that you need to learn or do, and use all of this as inspiration to strive. Do not waste time and energy whining or crying about what you don't have or what the other fellow has. Never live only for what you may get or achieve in the future. Do not obsess yourself over what may have been or may have been lost. The quest for happiness begins and ends in the present moment. Happiness handicap number 3, withdrawal. Some people withdraw from life. They are still breathing, eating, discarding waste, functioning physically, but not intellectually or emotionally. Why do some people suddenly die only a few months after retirement? Because they withdraw from life itself. There is no excuse in our great country to withdraw from life. There are plenty of places to go, things to do that require little or no money: the public library, the Little League baseball game, or the high school football game, a walk in the public park, or doing volunteer work at a hospital or senior center or youth center. Do not let your mind atrophy, not even for a day. Read the daily newspaper and a good book. Engage in a spirited conversation. Do something. Some people withdraw from life because they fear rejection. Their self-image is too old to be interesting to anybody else, too fat to be welcomed into a group, too poor, too this or that. They reject themselves before anyone else has an opportunity to reject them. They cannot live in fear and be happy. If you are overweight and want to do something about it, join Weight Watchers. You'll be welcome there. You will begin rebuilding your self-image through accomplishment. If you are a senior and retired, volunteer. Retired businessmen can work through the Small Business Administration and give needed counseling free to struggling entrepreneurs. There's no person without opportunity to engage in life. Today, even if you are immobile, confined to your house, even to a hospital bed, you can use a laptop computer and a phone, access the internet, participate in discussion groups with people from all parts of the world. You can write to pen pals. You can be a consultant, a telephone salesperson, a political activist, or a friend to other shut-ins with only a telephone, never leaving home if you can't. If you are poor, do something about that. Don't withdraw. Fight and win. Make crafts that you can sell. Start a business washing and polishing cars. Go to night school or take a correspondence course. Do not withdraw to the past. Do not hide from the future. The quest for happiness begins and ends in the present moment. Happiness handicap number 4, worry. We are a nation of compulsive worriers. Our what-ifs are many. What if there's war, or the bomb drops, or what if the stock market crashes? What if there's no Social Security when I retire? What will I get when I'm ill? What if my spouse leaves me? What if my kids use drugs? What if my company downsizes? The wonderful truth is that most of what we worry about never happens, and that, quite frankly, is a miracle, because our worries are commands to the failure mechanism to get busy. Happiness handicap number 5, laziness. There are all kinds of laziness. There is intellectual laziness. Dr. Abraham Maslow taught us that humans are happiest when learning new skills, making new discoveries. Intellectual curiosity fosters happiness. The great speaker, Cavett Roberts, says, school is never out for a pro. Yes, always be learning, growing, getting better. Beyond that, engage your mind with new and different stimuli. Read a magazine this month you've never read before. Go to an opera and a rock concert, a museum and a ball game. There's also emotional laziness, not unlike withdrawal. There's also physical laziness. The great actress Helen Hayes suggested this as a prescription for living. Take a brisk walk to a library. Take out a book by a tried and true writer. Take a brisk walk home and read with all attention. The exercise of the walk plus the tonic of the book will attend to all physical and mental requirements for good health. Helen Hayes practiced her craft for over 60 years, was known as the First Lady of American theater, and enjoyed her entire life, so her advice has merit. Self-made billionaire W. Clement Stone's favorite affirmation is, do it now. Well, certainly do something now, right now, because the quest for happiness begins and ends in the present moment. Happiness handicap number 6, selfishness. Yes, it is true that fundamentally everything we do is for self-interest, but there's a difference between self-interest and selfishness. Selfishness to me means greedy, self-absorbed, and fearful. The person who will not share refuses out of fear that he will lose what little he has and be unable to replace it. He never discovers the mysterious truth that the best way to multiply your own wealth is by giving, not hoarding. Once again, you cannot live in fear and be happy. Because selfishness is fear, it precludes happiness. Be generous with material possessions as well as with your spirit. I will come back to this later, as it is my favorite prescription for living, to give every moment that you can. Happiness handicap number 7, goallessness. Every living thing has a built-in guidance system or goal-striving device put there by its creator to help it achieve goals in a broad sense to live. You have such a mechanism installed inside you. It is genetic. It's part of being human. But it came with a price. When you fail to use it for productive, fulfilling, meaningful purposes, it manufactures unhappiness. It will do one or the other. Do you remember the painting I described to you that Salvador Dali painted for me? A man walking out of total darkness into brilliant sunshine? This only happens if you are moving towards meaningful goals. If you have a goal for right now, this minute, this hour, this day. If you do not, your man will step back into the darkness and shrink to the size of a pea and disappear. Happiness handicap number 8. Ignorance and stupidity. Albert Einstein was pronounced stupid by others, by his teachers, but his own self-image knew the truth. He was brilliant but bored. Many of the greatest experts and achievers in their field have been self-taught in that specialty, not formally educated. No matter what your current standing is in terms of formal education, literacy, diversity of knowledge, and specialized skills, you can improve dramatically and at a rapid pace if you will set a goal and develop a plan to do so. This is important because it is very difficult for ignorant or stupid people to be happy. The feelings of inferiority rise up, wash over them, and drown them. Ignorance is not knowing something. There's no shame in that. Stupidity is not knowing, and knowing you don't know, and not bothering to learn. There is shame in that. The use in nurturing and stimulating and challenging of intelligence strengthens the self-image so happiness is possible. At the end of the day, ask what you have learned. At the end of the year, ask yourself, how have you grown? Happiness handicap number 9, unhappy association. It is enough of a challenge in today's society to manage your own emotions so as to be happy without carrying around woefully unhappy people on your back and attempting to overcome their dead weight. No person can ever make you happy. That's your responsibility and no one else's. On the other hand, the people you choose to share your life, energy, and time can either contribute to an environment conducive to happiness or contribute to an environment conducive to unhappiness. They can help or handicap. If your closest friends are chronically and unrelentingly unhappy, you'd better distance yourself from them. It just stands to reason that you don't raise and train a thoroughbred horse with slow cows. If you want to be happy, you should seek out people who are and associate with them. You probably won't find them at the terribly misplaced happy hour at the local tavern either. Every minute you invest in being with an unhappy person is a minute of your own happiness lost forever, because the quest for happiness begins and ends at the present moment. Happiness handicap number 10, stress and tension. We have come to understand that some kinds and quantities of stress are actually good for us. But being constantly stressed out, anxious, and unable to relax is not. Such unrelenting tension is an insurmountable impediment to happiness. The person who lives far beyond his means, enslaved to debt, worried about where his next dollar is coming from and when it will arrive, cannot be happy. The person stuck in a job he finds boring, distasteful, wasteful of his abilities cannot be happy. We need relaxation. Now let me give you my favorite prescription for happiness. Focus on bringing happiness to others rather than getting it for yourself. The self-image is hugely strengthened by the person who creates happiness for others. One of the surest ways to find happiness for yourself is to devote your energies towards making someone else happy. Happiness is an elusive, transitory thing. If you set out to search for it, you may find it evasive. But if you try to bring happiness to someone else, then it comes to you. This is a basic truth. We are brothers and sisters, but too often we don't realize it and withdraw from each other in our minds or devote our energies to armed combat in which we seek to outmaneuver each other, usually to gain material possessions which never give us the sense of joy we could experience in human kindness. When you help others, you help yourself. You feel that you are useful, that you are a meaningful person, a contributing member of society. In addition, if the people you help are appreciative, and most people are grateful for kindness, you feel the warmth of their reaction to you, and your social interaction can be a friendly one. To be happy, you must learn the art of give and take, which is the lifeblood of civilized living. The person who is just a taker can never be happy. The man whose whole life is grabbing money like a shark killer, or a woman who accepts others' gifts like a pampered pet, can neither be happy in this kind of role. One must know the joy of giving, the spine-tingling thrill of making someone else happy, to know the real meaning of contentment.